All right. Welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching. And we've got a guest for you guys today that it's going to be a pretty special episode, I can tell. It's one that we actually had to rebook. We had her on the calendar some time ago, and if memory serves, she was sick at the time, and it just wasn't going to play well, and we just rescheduled it, and finally the calendar has rolled around to where we can do this. And there are a couple of other things that I really want to pepper our guest about that we will keep as a surprise to both you guys and her for the moment. But in the interim, welcome to the show, SalLynn Duran. Hi, SalLynn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just another busy, chaotic morning in real estate.
Welcome to Monday.
Yeah.
Although, it's funny because I always rival my gig in the mortgage space as how the weeks just go Monday, 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 Friday.
Yes.
And in real estate, it's a little different. Saturdays and Sundays, I get to be reactive. I don't have to be proactive. But it's been really busy. I have spent a lot of time working over recent weekends. There are a lot of people buying houses. Which is great. A lot of negotiations have been really fun to watch. It's been cool, entertaining stuff. And it's always been where it's somebody I know. I've worked with them. The listing agent reaches out. Hey, I just got a pre-approval with your from your office. Is there anything I should know? Those kinds of things. It's been really, really cool. It's been crazy. But like I said before we went live, while we were talking backstage, that we really want to get a little bit of background, who you are, where you're from. And I think one of the things that's pretty unique, especially as far as the show goes, is that you and I are both Denver natives, aren't we?
Yes. Been here my whole life, as well as, my family's been here for generations upon generations. And so I am a Colorado native.
Yeah, my kids are 5th generation Denver natives.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. In fact, my grandmother, bless her, she's still alive at 98 going on 99. Oh, wow. And I spent some time with her yesterday. And she was born in Denver, obviously. And I was like, wow, that was almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And started to think about what that was like for her parents, and I'm sure they were young when she was, they actually weren't that young when she was born. She had quite a few older siblings. 120, 130 years ago at that point.
That's insane.
It's hard to kind of picture what Denver was like then. But it definitely got the gears turning, spending that time with her yesterday. But okay, so you're from Denver, which is really cool because it's not all that often we have people on the show that are in our market. Even more rare, obviously, that it's somebody who was born here. Yeah. That's pretty wild. So we've got the background there, but tell us about your career. How did you get started in this wild game?
Yeah, so I actually, before real estate, I got my degree in human services with a concentration of at-risk youth and domestic violence. So
somewhere local, right?
Yes, somewhere local. Yep. I went to Metro State University.
Go Roadrunners.
Yes. And so I did that, and my passion has always been helping people, right? Helping. I'm a giver, I'm a helper. Problem solver has kind of been where I've wanted to be. And so after graduation, I worked for a nonprofit here, Servicios de la Raza, which has also been here for over 42 years. And Corky Gonzalez' son, Rudy Gonzalez, was one of the guys who has taken it over when I started doing my internship and then got hired working with at-risk youth. Was there for about 4 years, went into the school district in Brighton, Colorado, working as a foster care liaison and homeless liaison. And so my role was helping students in our district that were homeless and that were foster care students, helping them gain access to resources, housing. How do we help kids that are facing these hard times at home be able to stay focused in school, get the resources that they need to be productive while they're at school? How do we keep them within the same districts? Because if they're homeless, they're often going from DPS schools to Jefferson to Brighton. So my role was to try to provide stability within the schooling system for them with what they were facing at home. And so in that, I had been contemplating real estate like almost 4 years. My cousin, who was a single mom of 4 kids, she was selling real estate. She was able to be there for her kids and helping families get into homes. She helped us buy our 3rd home. And I was like, I really would, real estate intrigued me. And so as I was playing this role of homelessness, and I'm like, how do we provide stable, more permanent housing for families? How do we go from homelessness to home ownership, right? How do we teach them generational wealth through real estate? Because I'm a person of color, and I think in our culture and in our systems, we oftentimes think you need an 800 credit score, 20% down, thinking home ownership is impossible and not made for people that look like us, that come from the backgrounds we come from. And so that's what really eagered me to make a bigger impact on educating my community on home ownership. And so
huge misconceptions.
Yes, huge misconceptions. And so I come from a family. My mom has 14 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my grandparents never really owned a home. And we've only had maybe 1 or 2 aunts and uncles that bought a home. And for my mom, it was a dream, but seemed far out of her reach, where we had nobody close to us to help us navigate the process. So I really was like, I want to take this a step further and see how I can help people that are struggling in the community and teach them financial literacy, things like that. And so that's what drove my passion to go apply for my license, go to the school and do it. And it kind of just took off from there. So this end of July will actually be 8 years that I've been a licensed real estate agent here in Colorado.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah. And I, a lot of people last maybe 1 to 2 years. And for me, it looked very different. I had my first lead deal within 2 weeks of being licensed. And I think because I'm so well connected in the community, my family's so well connected in the community, that as soon as I got licensed, I just started going and hitting the ground running. And like, I don't know much of what I'm doing. I know what my goal is and why I'm doing it. And I had a great mentor. My cousin is Dionisia Gallegos, and she's been in real estate probably now, I would say 10, 12 years. But she's the one that coached me, was my mentor, my first couple of deals, showed me the ropes. And yeah, I love what I do. And I'm now, once I found my niche and my passion behind why I'm doing it, it's great for me.
This is fantastic. And I have a sneaking feeling that this conversation is going to steer towards the literacy, the mythology of what actually goes on in real estate and lending, and how much more plausible and attainable homeownership is than people really think it is.
Yes.
Right? When it comes to credit, that's a great example. When it comes to down payments, that's a great example. And certainly when it comes to things right now, it's such a unique real estate market that I don't think people understand how attractive it is right now to purchase a home.
Yeah. And why we should be helping more people purchase homes, because we hear the fear of interest rates right now, but we're also not talking about that pricing, right? I feel like way more important, because in Colorado, as we're both Colorado natives, homes used to be worth 50, 60,000. And now in some of those areas, they're over $1 million. And so if you could lock in a property now at the pricing that it's at now, it's only going to continue to rise, right?
Well, and I think one of the important factors, particularly if we're going to have this discussion, is what kind of a springboard owning a home is to future financial freedom. Yeah. I don't think people, certainly first-time buyers, I don't think that we really have the foresight to understand what that means. And I remember my first home, and I owned it quite a while, and I think last I saw it had roughly tripled in value.
Yeah.
And it had probably more than doubled in value by the time I sold it, which enabled me to buy a much nicer home, pay off all my debt, these kinds of things. And I don't know that I can properly verbalize the new level, the next level of financial freedom that homeownership can get someone. It's not just about having a place to live. It's not just about the freedom to, put holes in the walls and have a dog and all the things that you can't do when it's a rental, when you have a landlord, those kinds of things. And of course, the affordability index is still fairly square. If you can afford to rent, odds are pretty good you can afford to buy.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think a lot of people take that into account either. And there's obviously a lot of psychological freedom, social freedom, emotional freedom that comes along with home ownership versus being a renter. But yeah, I think we have a hard time seeing far enough down the road to understand what kind of a new level of financial independence, of financial stability, of financial freedom buying and owning a home will bring in the future years.
Yeah. And learning how to actually leverage that real estate, right? Because a lot of people will buy their first homes and that's for their kids, that's for their stability, but not understanding that just because you own one home, you could actually own multiple homes and you don't have to have the income to own those multiple homes. So let me teach you what that looks like. Let's turn some even fix and flipping. Let's invest in rental properties. Even if it's not here in Colorado, let's go where it's more affordable, where there's more rentals than home ownership, so that you can make what that looks like for further when your home is paid off, right? When you leave this world, what you're leaving to your kids. And that's where the generational wealth comes into play with real estate and how to leverage real estate for the benefits of financial freedom and wealth for generations upon generations.
Well, let me give you an example, or give our audience an example. I've got a client that we're working with right now that is selling their home and buying a home. And as a result, they are going to make a fairly healthy down payment on the next home, pay off all their debt. And while there is certainly a stigma with the fact that interest rates are 5, not 3, and that's a big gap. Big gap, there's no question. But they will actually have a lower out-of-pocket expense, a lower amount of money they're spending on interest on their debt, a much greater tax deduction, and a much nicer home. All because of the first home. So yeah, I mean, the future, I think, of what will come if you are purchasing a home now is where a lot of people lose sight of what's important, because an interest rate is not. And don't get me wrong, if we had a healthy economy, and I don't think we do, I think it's a paper tiger. You can probably punch a hole right through it. But if we had a healthy economy, things are probably about where they should be with housing, mortgages. And it's really competitive to buy a home right now. It looks like we've had a pretty major shift, and I know we're not able to kind of fit the antiquated metric of what defines a balanced real estate market or a buyer's market. But from what I'm seeing, it's a buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market. And for us agents and lenders to know what that means when it's a buyer's market, right? How are we educating the people around us and teaching them what that is? Because it is a heavy buyer's market. And I think people got used to the 3%, 2.5s, but that actually wasn't healthy for our economy. And that's why we're now seeing the egg prices, the milk prices. People didn't understand what that was. And I feel like with interest rates, they will always just go up and down, right? We've seen it in history. They're going to go up and down. So if I tell people with the home prices, though, even if worst case scenario, the market crashed, right, and homes lose value, and we see what we did in 2005, which there's no signs of that happening. But all of those homes that dropped, they dropped for a period of time, but they're all back up again. So as long as
higher than they were by far.
So you could, as long as you hold into your property and you could pay your mortgage no matter what, who cares what's happening, right? Because that's always going to, and I tell people interest rates are up and down just like gas prices. And so lock in the home now, the price that you can now. If the rates do ever drop lower than what you currently got, refinance. And, understand, I think as you're on the lending side, that we're hoping that they stay around low fives, mid fives is where it's going to be a steady, healthy interest rate moving forward.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And it's funny, even if we get into the Wayback Machine and talk about what went on during the Great Recession, which is now 20 years ago, and what that did to real estate values, prices. There were certainly areas of Denver that took a hit. Green Valley definitely took a big impact. There was a period there where like 1 out of 3 homes was foreclosed on.
Yeah.
You could literally walk out on your porch and look at one neighbor, look at the other neighbor, and realize that one of you was going to fall victim to that. But the major portions of the metropolitan area, worst case scenario, there was no appreciation.
Yeah.
But we really didn't see a huge degradation of values. And we'll never be in a situation, fortunately, where something like that would happen again, where that Wall Street greed that bled into the mortgage-backed securities system resulted in literally crashing the entire economy, almost the global economy that way.
Yeah.
And I know you see peripheral that Wall Street greed has a very short memory, that we're certainly going to have issues where things are being driven by big dollars and having adverse impacts on those of us that are, just everyday consumers, everyday homeowners, those kinds of things. But nothing like we saw 20 years ago, 07, 08. We're not going to see anything like that again. So, yeah, I do think that that's relatively valuable to know that you're never going to see that kind of, even if you're old enough to remember what went on. And if you're not, go check out a film called The Big Short, which explained really well what went on with the mortgage-backed securities system at that time, and the mortgage lending world and the real estate world and so on and so forth. But for a long, long time, the Denver metro area was kind of immune.
Yeah.
We were really, really fortunate.
Yeah. And I think too, is people, unfortunately, we know Colorado to once be affordable. I tell people all the time, from what I'm seeing, is we're going in the way of California, unfortunately. And, I think 1,300 square feet is going to probably be close to $1 million if it's not already in some areas. And so if Colorado is somewhere where you want to land and be, stop being on the fence line and purchase, because it's, it's expensive here.
We don't wait and buy real estate. We buy real estate and wait.
And then wait, yes.
And I think that was true of a lot of major metropolitan markets. I'm working with a client right now in Austin, Texas, and that market is insane. In fact, her offer that was not accepted most recently was well above ask, with an appraisal gap,
and still
was not accepted. Yeah, pretty wild stuff. But I think we saw that in Seattle and Portland and LA and Atlanta, certainly Austin. I think a lot of major metropolitan areas saw that, and some are seeing it again or still. But yeah, I think that SalLynn has a really good point there. If you are even moderately, remotely interested in home ownership and you're not already there, please take a serious look at it now. And this is funny because I know our audience isn't really consumers, but take a really serious look at it now. And if you're in our audience, make sure your clients, your customers understand this, because it may get out of reach for them someday. Mm-hmm. Their income isn't going to outpace the real estate market. Their ability to save isn't going to outpace the real estate market. So yeah, if you're contemplating it, please take a really good look at it now.
Yeah. Ask all the important questions.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
But actually, that brings up a really good question, though, or a really good subject. What questions do you expect buyers to be asking you today? And what questions are they not asking that you're giving them answers to anyway?
So I think a lot of people are asking, their biggest question is interest rates, right? What does that look like? And so what I'm telling them is, I give them the same thing as I've just told you, right? This is Colorado. It's getting expensive. Buy now, don't wait. A lot of buyers are asking, why are homes sitting on the market for so long? Things like that. And when we say it's a buyer's market, what that means is you're not necessarily having to overpay for homes. Sure. You're getting closing cost credit to help buy the rate down or for closing cost.
Or both.
Are both. And then inspection items, you're getting homes inspected and repairs made that are important. Yeah. You're not having to skip out on inspection or appraisals. The buyers are getting more pros than a seller is. So that's what it is for the buyer's market. But those questions are asked. Those are the biggest questions, is the interest rate, my overall payment. And I think a lot of times people are seeing Zillow payments. And so trying to walk them through that and not understanding. But a lot of them are asking, what does that mean? I keep hearing it's a buyer's market, but what does that actually mean?
Okay, right off the bat, and we won't dwell on it. Ladies and gentlemen, the A in Zillow stands for accuracy. Yeah. So, yeah, please don't let that influence what your decision-making process is. Absolutely.
When buying or selling.
Seriously. And I think another important piece of the puzzle is that we're not having bidding wars.
No. Some are, though. My listings this year, and that's one thing I've learned, is we don't, as agents, don't talk about the hard parts in real estate, right? They see the good parts on social media, things like that. But last year I had 7 listings that fell out for whatever reasons. I was like, that's not going to happen again this year, right? So really just being truthful and honest about pricing. And if the homes are in pristine condition and look like they're ready to sell, they are going under contract pretty fast. And knock on wood, that's been almost every single one of my listings where I had multiple offers above list. We were seeing inspections waived, gap appraisals happening. But that's because we're also priced, and I'm very strategic on my listings. So it's like that. I come from a big office, and so we're having those conversations of some listings sitting for a long time, negotiations happening, and then some of us are seeing my listing got multiple offers above list, those examples happening. So it's all, I think, where it's located in Colorado, and then also pricing, and then how it's presenting to the market right now.
Well, we only control price and condition.
Yep.
So yeah. And I am coming across a lot of situations with agents talking to potential sellers who want to list or sell at certain prices, and agents are telling them it's not realistic. And then somebody else will come along and tell them that it is. And then the property sits. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't sell. And they've got to lower the price back down to what they were originally told. And now the listing is stagnant.
Yeah. People are like, they think something's wrong, and there's nothing wrong. I try to tell my sellers when I go on to listing presentations is, think about when you're at the grocery store and you see a Campbell's soup, same can, same product, same day that it was made, but there's a dented can and there's not the dented can. We just, for whatever reason, go for the non-dented can. So the houses are the same. So if it's sitting there and it's been on the market for 50 days, not because, anything's wrong with it, but if the consumer or buyer is saying something's wrong.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned something to me that this past week that I thought was really interesting. If somebody sees a house and they think it's overpriced, or they make an offer and they can't come to terms with the seller, that they move on. They go look for another house, and mentally they move on. And even if the seller comes back and says, okay, we'll lower the price to what you think is reasonable, it's probably too late.
Yeah.
That even if they haven't found another home, there is some mental stigma about the fact that the buyers moved on. They just don't feel that it was the right house, the right deal, the right situation for them. And it's very, very difficult. I think listing strategy is probably one of the biggest impacts right now for real estate agents to have successful transactions with their sellers. Yes. I'm not sure we can emphasize that enough. If there are actually consumers listening to this and you're contemplating selling your home, please find somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing, because they are far and few, right? I think we saw that 70% of the agents didn't do a single deal last year.
Yeah.
And like 80% did 4 or fewer, something to that. So find somebody that knows what they're doing and then take their advice.
Yeah.
Listen to them. They're going to, they're in it to help you win. You want to sell your house? That's what they're there for, is to help you sell your house.
Yeah.
Please follow the directions.
I hear, you're hiring a real estate agent because they're professional. So trust that they are the professional and know what they're doing. And also, are you selling the house to be for sale in the market? Or are you selling your house to be sold in the market? So that's somebody said that to me, and it was like an aha moment for me, where I'm like, because we could put your house on Zillow and on the market and it's going to look cute for sale, but are we actually putting it on the market to be sold?
Yeah. Do you want to sell it, or do you want to see what you could get for it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really a notable difference that consumers or home sellers are struggling with. No question. Okay, so let's give a little bit of insight just for our actual audience. I know you're with a huge operation, Keller Williams downtown, if memory serves.
Yes.
This is probably, if not the biggest, the second biggest Keller operation in Colorado.
Yes.
DTC, the Denver Tech Center, might rival that.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does it look like for your group, your team, your operation specifically? Are there other agents? Is there a team lead? Do you have support staff? How are you putting this together to have the level of success that you have?
So right now it's me. I have myself. I have my TC, who is with me on every single transaction, both sell and buy. I do have a VA assistant who does some of my management on my database, things like that, those little tedious tasks that I just don't have the time for. That is it. I am in the process of creating a position because I'm getting to the point where I need help, right? I am consistently busy. I had 7 closings this month, so I'm busy. And so I don't ever want to not give the full customer experience to all of my clients. So I am now trying, in the process of creating an actual full-time admin assistant. Okay. And my goal is to have that admin assistant position. And then the next step would be having a buyer agent working for me. But I have no desire. I'm a solo agent and I have no desire to start a team or be on a team. I think I'm too much of a control freak. So I don't know. I'm always a team player, but I just think I like to run my own ship. And so that's the goal is, I've been doing this for 8 years. And so now I'm trying to leverage my time back with my family and my kids because I'm working hard for them. But then also like real estate, we don't really have off days. Like it's a constant grind and we're working.
Okay. So that's a really valuable point when it comes to support, team structure, having an assistant, because a lot of agents, even agents that are doing 7 deals a month, tell me they can't afford it. And I'm like, well, okay, let's say you found somebody part-time, AA work, get some of those $20 an hour tasks off your plate, and you're paying this person $20 an hour for 20 hours a week, roughly $1,600 a month, but it frees up 80 hours of your time. Mm-hmm. Could you find one more deal with 80 hours? Yeah. Of course. Does that one deal pay you more than $1,600? Of course. Sometimes we just need the simple math to break it down so that it's a little more eye-opening. But I understand the control freak personality. A lot of us are.
Yeah.
We all believe nobody could do it as well as we could. And there's a good formula for that as well, boys and girls. If you can find somebody that can do it 80% as well as you can, let them do it.
Yeah.
Let them do the tasks, and they'll get better over time anyway.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important, particularly for somebody that's been in the game for a minute, is having a decent amount of success, volume, those kinds of things, numbers of transactions as you are, is that now you get to contemplate a choice. Hypothetically, you did free up those 80 hours a month, and maybe you're putting half of that to work with those high dollar activities, those really solid lead gen activities that you're doing. Yeah. Maybe the other half of it is you buying some of your life back. Mm-hmm. Again, more time with the family. Or maybe you want to get back to a hobby. You fish or you play the guitar or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to do a little bit more of that. Same calculation, same formula. So in time, and you guys are going to get there, I promise. Just stay at it. But in time, you will start being able to make decisions about whether or not you want to spend the time on those tasks that you have put onto somebody else's plate, your admin assistant, your buyer's agent, whatever the case may be, where you will get to have the freedom to make those conscious choices. Do you want to spend that time generating more business, doing those high dollar activities? Do you want to spend that time buying your life back, essentially, or a combination in between?
Yeah.
And I think that it's really valuable to be able to get to a point where you can make that decision. And SalLynn, if you're doing a half a dozen plus deals a month, you're there. Yeah. You're in a place where you're able to make that decision.
Yeah.
How are you going to find this person?
So Chat is my friend. So
all of us now.
Chat's part of my assistant. He's helping me assist my business. So I've now put everything in there and this is what I need. And with Keller Williams, that's why I stay and love my office, is they have systems and models that help me figure out how to then now properly hire the right person. Okay. And so with that, personality traits, I'm going to be having them do a personality screening.
Excellent.
Figure out
profiles are huge.
Yep.
The job can be taught.
Yeah.
If somebody has a shitty personality, that's it. You can't reteach that.
Yeah. And I have to take time from my current work schedule to be able to train this person properly. So it's if I'm investing that time, I want to make sure it's a good hire.
Excellent.
And so I'm trying to find somebody that's kind of already in the real estate world, because I feel like they have some at least back knowledge of, systems and what that means, what's a CRM, things like that. So yeah, I have a good system and support at my office that's going to help me get this position up and running and going and making sure I find the right person for it.
Perfect. On that note, because we do a lot of work with our coaching clients on personality profiles when it comes to team building, whether that's sales or ops or both, is we love Enneagram. I know a lot of you are hung up on DISC. I know a lot of you are hung up on the different models that circumnavigate that. I don't have anything bad to say about Strength Finders or Strengths Finders. Finder? I can't remember, but one of the two. Either Strengths or Finders is plural or singular, but you'll find it. But I think that the shift from using DISC profiles to Enneagram profiles has been monumental because it's a wider gamut. There are more varieties. And the way that the personality profile quizzes go, I think Enneagram is providing a better insight to how people are going to operate under stress.
Yeah.
I think the way that those are laid out give you a better insight as to how somebody's going to be in real life, not just what their personality is like while they're taking the test.
Yeah. I
And
wrote the
that's a
name
big
down
difference.
because I've never heard of it. So I'm gonna look into that because we use disc. So yeah, I wrote that down just now.
Yeah, I think DISC is a little antiquated. Enneagram, 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 I think is a far better personality profile for the modern, especially in our roles. If
Yeah.
I'm looking for an LOA, or if somebody's looking for an assistant in the real estate space, I think it's a far better model than DISC. And don't get me wrong, DISC has been around forever because it works.
Yeah.
No question. And another piece of the puzzle here for all of you listening, when you're finding that person, when you're reviewing personality profiles, this is very, very difficult because of our nature. We want to like the people. We want to maintain some of that control freak opportunity. Find people that are your opposite. They're going to be better suited at the tasks that you don't want to do or are not good at.
Yeah.
Don't hire somebody that's exactly like you. You're never going to find the fluidity that you want in the two of you doing different things in the culmination of moving your business forward. Yeah. So, yeah, another important piece of that. Oh my gosh, this has been fantastic. Thank you. You brought up so many great points. You're in a really good spot right now for what our audience and what our coaching clients would want and need to hear. So the timing has been perfect. I'm glad you were sick last year.
Yeah,
we had to reschedule.
I'm glad. I feel like we've been in contact for quite some time now. And so I'm glad, to finally be here with you. This is super exciting. I just started my live show a couple of months ago.
I saw that you guys had recently done an episode.
Yeah.
And it's a video cast, not a podcast.
Yeah, so I wanted, which the live is a little tricky, right? It is making sure everything is working good, but I like the system that you're using, and that's something I might need to look into. But I wanted to do something like a live show, kind of like a talk show. We don't see talk shows anymore, really. And so I wanted to do something different where it was live, and we just did our 10th episode. And so it's going good. But yeah, I love to do things like this.
It's about real estate. And the audience is the consumer, the buyer and seller.
Yes.
What is the name of it?
Spill the tea, build the block.
Spill the tea, build the block. All right, I'm posting that for everybody. You guys should be able to find it there. And in the interim, how are people able to find you?
So I would say social media, Facebook, Instagram, or even by email. I go by SalLynn Colorado is my slogan. And my name is SalLynn Duran on Facebook, SalLynn Colorado, SalLynn Duran on Instagram.
Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you for doing this. I know carving out this kind of time on a Monday, and you had a little bit of a issue with the closing this morning that caused some delays, and we tinkered with audio and video a bit before we went live. You nailed it, by the way.
Yeah, I'm still at the title company. I came back to the title company. I'm like, can I use one of your conference rooms since it kind of went over?
Yeah, no, it worked out great. I'm glad that it did. That's why we have our guests jump on early so that we can figure some of those things out. Thank you so much for doing
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely my pleasure. And for the rest of you watching or listening live or in syndication, you can catch new episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage on Mondays at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And the podcast goes up on Wednesdays on Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. And if you want more information about any of this stuff, previous episodes, we do a weekly video blog called The Little Tip. We do an annual conference here in Denver, the Mile High Mastermind. I've written some books on this subject. If you want any of that stuff, go check out justthetipscoaching.com. You'll be able to find all that stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to let you go because you've obviously got a big day. And for the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. And we will not have an episode next week after the 4th of July holiday. So happy holiday to all of you. And we'll be back the week after that with another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. SalLynn, don't run off. I'm going to run our extra, but want just another minute of your time.
Okay.
And for the rest of you, we'll see you next time.
Bye.